and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
So it don't make sense. How come everything has went up pertaining to prices that's affecting the unfortunate people, the ones that's on a fixed income, those that's either retired or those drawing some sort of Social Security? If gasoline hadn't went up, how come everything else has gone up? Is it because the consumers have just decided to take advantage of the is it because the business people had just decided to take advantage of the consumers? I mean, there are a certain amount of consumers out there that this hasn't affected that much. But there's other people out there, consumers, that this has affected tremendously, such as the people that's on fixed incomes, people that has chronic medical problems, people that basically today are at their wits' end.
Ks and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans, they're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe.
Those are all promises. If you get to looking at the bottom line, we're still going up pertaining to our national deficit. They're still shutting down. Right now, the government is partially shut down. They can't get along. They can't figure out nothing. You get up there and lie like this. I mean, it's unbelievable. And how many people have bought into this? And trust me, when it comes to the millionaires, when it comes to those that's on top of the food chain, oh yeah, it's been fine for them. Been just fine for them. Well, see, they're the ones that started the price hiking, the price fixing. And because of it, it trickled down the hill, and now the smallest of the smallest, the unfortunate people, are now taking it on the chin.
Bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill.
And in the meantime, we're seeing the earth right now in a transitional period right now towards it converging with all these earthquakes and hurricanes and volcanoes and all these crazy weather events going from one extreme to another. We're now seeing basically Mother Nature lashing out, or I use the terminology regurgitating itself up onto the inhabitants here on earth because of what we're doing in drill, baby, drill, drill, drill.
I, in America, we cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps.
And a great deal of them have been taken off of food stamps, and right now they're suffering on account of it. And if you don't watch, they'll end up turning towards crime, which will increase the crime.
Union is strong.
He's lost his mind. He's lost his mind being almost $40 trillion in debt and going to get up there and tell everybody that the Union is strong. That the Republic is strong.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me.
But yet now there's people starving. Yet now there's people being kicked out of their apartments. Yet now there's people that can't afford their homes because they're having to foreclose. Yet now there's how many people that's late on their car payments, and how many people out there that can't make their can't pay their light bill because of their medicine bill, and can't pay their medicine bill because of their light bill, and is having to make lifelong decisions in whether or not they're going to freeze to death or whether or not they're going to do without their medication that they so desperately need.
Olympic hockey team, come on in.
Now these people here fought and earned their entitlement pertaining to being on top. See, I'm old enough, you can call me ancient if you want to, but I remember, what was it, almost 40 years ago or something like that, whenever the hockey team beat Russia. And that was a big, big deal back then, just like it's a big, big deal right now. I'm proud of them. I really am. I'm very, very proud of them because they earned every bit of it.
Go ahead. Thank you. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
And rightfully so. Because if you're going to invite one, you should invite the other.
that were in the Oval Office before. And I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there and they weren't about to say no, because I'd never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck.
Yep. Yep. It was an excellent performance. If you hadn't watched it, it really was. Gold. That's what it's all about. Coming out on top.
Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given, and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Medal of Freedom. That's something, ain't it? Yep, that's something.
Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles.
Well, I hope so. Summer version.
And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in the first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself, but we're getting the World Cup, so we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming, and that is exciting news.
Yes, it is. I agree with that. Yes, it is. They have earned their spot in history.
So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. but he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday.
Amen. Yeah. Ain't too many of those guys left around. Amen. He was 17. Wow. Remarkable. Remarkable. Tougher than nails. Remarkable. Tougher than nails.
So, buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClament closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Billy Kate, but 164 others to safety.
That is remarkable. That is remarkable. Amen to our first responders. That's remarkable. Wow.
People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate.
Yep. Good deal. Must be your parents in behind there, I'm assuming.
And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you.
Wow. That's an honor. That's a big honor.
And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you
Just a
very much.
young guy too.
Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans.
Stay with me, Bill. Stay with me.
All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and her expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half.
That's a good thing.
Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man standing right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children.
Wow.
They're great people.
That is tremendous. Remarkable.
When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad.
Come over here, Jack. Jack, right here. Jack. Come over here.
So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov. Trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. Now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful country saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly use the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't agree with you, Mr. President. I hate to tell you that. It's a funny thing that you can't blame it on gasoline for taking all the high prices. So what else can the people blame it on if they can't blame it on those tariffs?
The high prices Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward.
And there's no doubt all them countries needed to be realigned towards them ripping us off. And there's no doubt a lot of the fraud and the waste and all the other stuff that's going on here in America need to be re-examined and looked at and reformed. These institutions need to be reformed. They need to sharpen their pencil.
Rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot.
No,
and
it's
even
not.
beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago.
I think 3 or 4 steaks last year and maybe a time or two of hamburgers. Didn't eat I don't think I ate pork chops once or twice last year. But they got this worm disease right now, and they claim that if it ever, that flesh-eating disease, that it's over here in America, that if it ever goes through the cow industry, you think prices are high right now. You ain't seen high prices on beef.
Obamacare, bigger.
But see, he's not going to mention that tonight.
It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great healthcare plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost.
Good luck in that $1 trillion industry.
My plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so good. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing.
And don't get me wrong, I would like to be able to tell my granddaughter 10 years from now, 12, 15 years from now, however long I live, if I live a normal life, I'd like to sit down and tell her about all the mistakes that's been made in the past 30 plus years that has put us where we are right now. I'd like to be able to sit down and tell her, you know what, if it wasn't for a man by the name of Donald J. Trump, we would still be in the red and we'd still be going deeper and deeper in the hole. I'd love to be able to tell my granddaughter that. I would. I'd love to be able to tell her that. But for right now, I don't see those materializing. Now, they may be looking at something that we're not looking at, but as of right now, the way the people are hurting, he's gonna have trouble selling that sack of goods.
Anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere, the lowest price.
It's a funny thing to me. My diabetic medication, that's a big blue pill that's time release. Last time I looked, still costed me $1,300 or $1,400 from my insurance for a 90-day supply.
Should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more. All available right now at a new...
Wonder what drugstore he's going to, because the one I go to at Walmart over here, I don't see none of that. Am I being misguided, or am I being cheated by going to the wrong drugstore? Do I need to choose a different drugstore? I mean, what's he talking about here?
Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom.
Let's hope and pray that he's not lying to us.
Now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing I'm not sure it matters, because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory, so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes.
That's a good thing, providing he can make it stick, but I guarantee you they'll make a way around it by having brokers or whatever that'll be doing their bidding for them. Yep, there's always a way that you can whitewash something, including the cash. Send it out of the country and let it come back looking clean and mean. You know what I mean?
We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401k.
But once more, how about the retirees? How about the ones on a fixed income, Mr. President? I mean, this sounds good and dandy for those that's in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and maybe even their 50s. And I guess to some degree, even some of the 60s is still out there working, that's participating in this, which would probably be, what, less than 30%? 40, maybe 35% at the very most of your labor force out there, compared to the rest of us. But how about the rest of us that's basically hurting for certain?
Members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Sounds good, but you got to catch them. You got to catch them because they're pretty crafty. Guarantee you, they're pretty slick. Just like how many times has Mr. Trump profited off of the same type of circuitry?
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Sounds good on the front end. May just be a pipe dream, though.
I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although it started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. We'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colvin was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Lisbeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them.
I agree with that. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID.
I agree with that one too. Yeah, I agree with that one too.
All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote.
Yep.
And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things you almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up. And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we've been talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady, now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both, and Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God.
Now that I agree with.
Tremendous renewal.
That I agree with. That I agree with.
This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Eric. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zuretska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zuretska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation. She was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged. Shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Evalie. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her that never see anything like it. So sorry. Thank you very much. A great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night. And she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone. But his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melody? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well deserved.
We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. My first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India. Would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared. And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco.
Ending wars is a good thing. I'm glad.
Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever. Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. It was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back. But we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the ninth war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer.
That's a good thing. That's a
For
good thing.
decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Absolutely.
Many decades.
Absolutely.
Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protesters, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
Amen.
My preference.
Amen.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Amen. Amen.
And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective.
That's right.
So thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed, at my very strong request, to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO.
That's
Now
a
they're
good
paying
thing.
5 as opposed to not paying 5.
That's a good thing. People were ripping us off.
And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily. One meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying, afraid of many of them, very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. They put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for one more dollar, we can have $1,776. Go to it. I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. One more dollar, I said $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it, so we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it $1,776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also
Absolutely.
restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January. Yep. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force than we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby. As we did that, my baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice.
There you go. There you go.
And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down.
Special moment there, no doubt.
Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro. Really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter, to deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, the helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, we probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take the searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing and People knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy, Eric, and Amy. Come on in. So we have a surprise, Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Amen. Amen. USA. USA.
Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. We met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will do that. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together we mastered the world's mightiest industries, and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies, and we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel, and then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
There you go, folks. A great deal of this I agreed with.
President of the United States.
Some of it I was appalled by, but most of it was straight from the hip, common sense attitude regarding America, America, America. And I guess if there's any area that I object to would be the drill baby drill regarding the damages that he's doing subsequently to the planet and our environment, towards the air that we breathe, poisons that we drink, etc. I meant what I said a while ago. I hope and pray. My granddaughter's soon to be 3. So in 15 years from now, she'll be 18. She'll be basically an adult. And I just hope and pray that one day I can look at her in the eyes and I can say, you know what? America was on its way down. But enough strong, good-hearted people stood together in the name of patriotism and in the name of God and turned the ship around from going further into the storm. You can't buy your friends. You can't buy loyalty. You can't buy respect. But what you can do is earn it. And whenever that bullet comes so close, basically peeling his noggin, there's no doubt that God had his hand up onto that individual, just like all the other individuals that he made mention of tonight, that was in a very, very heroic, courageous state, including those that subsequently got shot or hurt or damaged that wasn't in the military. That's the reason why the Purple Hearts Dragons Veterans Memorial out here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255, supports all our American military, supports and defends our police as well as all our law enforcement agencies of those who are striving towards a better, fair future for all of us, not part of us, because we have to work as a team if we're going to defeat the beast and overcome these perilous times that we're in right now. It's going to take all of us. So, I ain't a Republican or a Democrat. I've told you that before. I think that there was a reason why that the Supreme Court voted the way that they did. Obviously, they must be looking at something that we're not looking at. Obviously, the prices of almost everything has gone up, either 15 to sometimes 35, maybe even 50%, depending upon what it is. I mean, the same items that we used to get for pennies on a dollar, now it's costing quarters or even half a dollar or even dollars. I don't know that you can go get a meal anymore, even a breakfast, without it costing at least $15, $18. And once more, that don't sound like no money regarding if you're making $80 to $140, $157 a year, like most of these politicians are doing that's been elected in office. Or your chief combatant engineers, your architects, or strong career, culture motivated craftsmanship jobs, regardless whether it's welders, plumbers, bricklayers, cement pourers, auto body industry, etc. Those with a high skill are still making decent money. They may not be making right at $140,000, but I guarantee you they're making somewhere between $60,000 and $75,000 on the lower end, if they're any good at all in doing their jobs. A matter of fact, I was just given an offer less than about 3 or 4 days ago that if I was to go get my CDL license, driving a dump truck, either with gravel or sand or whatever, that the guy just basically guaranteed me $60,000 right off the top. Right off the top. And I don't blame Donald Trump for saying what he said about giving licenses to people that are not even legally citizens here in America. I've never seen anything like this. And it's not just in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I could name off at least, well, they claim, I don't know how true it is, but they claim between the cities, the counties, the towns, and the areas, there's 80 plus entities in America right now that cuddle illegals. And I feel quite sure that that's across the board in every state. That ain't just in one state. But to go in and bust everybody up the way that ICE was doing, I think is wrong, because people should have a right to an opinion. But then again, I can see where it's wrong to impede an officer that's involved in a official job, as long as that officer is staying within the guidelines of the law. Now, if that officer ain't staying within the guidelines of the law, then maybe the citizens do have a right to impede. Just like anybody in the military, just because you're in the military doesn't mean that you have to obey an unlawful order. We have laws. We are a nation of laws. We are a nation of courts. We either have hearings or trials, or we have debates, okay? And whenever you start crisscrossing those areas, then you are breaching our contract pertaining to who we really are to begin with, which is who? A democracy. It really don't have nothing to do with a republic. It started out as a republic, but as far as I'm concerned, the republic helped to fail the American people in being almost $40 trillion in debt. And now look at the radical movements that this presidency is having to take just in trying to realign everything. I personally believe the only way to do this and to do it across the board legitimately is to have term limits on your politicians and basically declare bankruptcy on America and start all over from ground zero. But you can't do it with cash, because if you do, it's going to be neglected, it's going to be abused, and it's going to be taken advantage of. One other thing I wanted to make mention of that he didn't make mention of tonight pertaining to the Guthrie family, Nancy Guthrie. You know, I think for as little as like $45, I can put a chip in my dog. That way, if my dog was to run away and get in the bottoms, that way, if my dog for some reason was to get too friendly with somebody and to get in a vehicle and take off, at any given moment, using the technology of today, I could find my dog within just a few hours, no matter where it was, as long as it was within a 50-mile radius around here. I could find my pet. I could find my member of my family. If Nancy had a chip, they would have already found her within a few hours after she wound up missing. Now, the superstitiousness of this nation is one of the very reasons why that it has caused the Jubilees, the Jubilee Jesus Christ Windmill Ministries missions to take a back seat. Because A, people didn't believe me. B, they thought I had the wrong motives. C, they couldn't comprehend supernatural effects pertaining to a spiritual crown of thorns and two hands miraculously coming out of heaven, pertaining to, metaphorically, of the white horseman having a bow or a promise, going forth conquering and to conquer. But I feel like now, 30 plus years later, in identifying these wrong moves, maybe it will open up an opportunity for the ministry to go forward in the aspects of what God intended for it to go forth to begin with. But once more, it's going to take group. It's going to take more than one. The one horse pony show is over with, folks. All I can do is make my videos, put out my video links, and tell people of the experiences that I've went through and be able to validate them. No matter if it's with the government, no matter if it's with the federal government, no matter if it's with the state governments, no matter if it's in one state or another, or no matter whether or not it be with one close encounter of death beginning at the age of 2 weeks, or several close encounters with death in my life, that I know it was only by the miracle of God that I'm still here to be able to make this video link. Just like there'll be also other documentations to be able to prove how that they was trying to have me admitted, how that they was trying to basically get me out of open population. Even whenever I first come back here in 2014, after my brother died within 10 days, I'm arrested in Weakley County, charged for a false charge, a made-up charge, and basically drove me over the edge pertaining to the loss of my brother, and especially the way that they was tormenting our lives down here and continued to torment our lives after he was dead. And it wasn't until God put his foot down and people started dropping like flies around here until they realized maybe we need to leave this old boy alone down here, including one of their leading examples up in Dresden, Tennessee, involvement with a water recreation deal, including massive storms and tornadoes, and seeing the Mississippi River almost go dry several different times, and seeing the crops endlessly fail of one reason or the other, or it costing the agriculture community more and more money pertaining to having to make up for the losses of the Mississippi River, $1 a bushel on beans of corn. There's no doubt Donald J. Trump struck off on some very good notes A lot of them are wishful thinking. A lot of them are hopes in the wind. But you know what? If we pursue our destiny as a great nation, there's no doubt in my mind the invisible God that we know is real will be with us and guide us through each and every dark event that has been brought upon to our lives illegitimately for the past 30 plus years. I really hate it that Donald J. Trump had to inherit this type of a mess. Because in a lot of people's eyes, being the strong man, being the bad guy pertaining to the ramrod, a lot of times you're looked down upon, you're frowned upon, you're made fun of, or you're sniggered at. Well, I think Donald J. Trump don't mind if anybody laughs at him or sniggers at him or makes fun of him, because he's got his destiny towards the American people. And I think he's got a body of believers around him, pertaining to his cabinet members, that feels the same way. And you got to admit that if it wasn't for Donald J. Trump, America was going so far backwards whenever it come to First Amendment rights and religious rights, not only that, but also gun rights, that it was just a matter of time before they was going to go house to house gathering up people's guns. It was just a matter of time before you wasn't going to be able to put out a lascivity scene out in your yard, even during Christmas, of Mary and Joseph and the three wise men and baby Jesus. It was just a matter of time before we was going to completely give everything away. Why? Allowing for these bad people coming over here to America and taking advantage of us. I'm glad in more ways than one, though I hate it that Donald Trump was given this plate, inherited this inheritance of such of a mess. But I still say the only way to do a full 180-degree turn, to quit bickering around pertaining to people's lives, is to take care of the elderly, take care of the people that are truly unfortunate in not being able to take care of themselves, pertaining to the weak and the poor, the very things that Jesus taught us. Clean out the fraud, clean out those that pretend to have something wrong with them that is not, and force them in going to work, reconform them, or reform them in doing something if it ain't doing nothing but sitting and answering the telephone or working the switchboard operator set, and get this nation off the ground and change its trajectory towards a very, very successful world for all the world and not just part of the world. You have to look at fairness. You have to look at godliness. You have to look at what our ancestors, previous to us coming into an existence, was willing to sacrifice for, regarding the ultimate sacrifice that so many of them actually did pay. So many of them actually did pay. We are no doubt a nation of peace. But when pushed to the extreme, when provoked, we can show our might. We can show our might in not bowing to that type of regime or that type of communism that should have completely, totally died by now. But because of the superstitiousness coming from the churches, it has delayed the second coming of Christ. And whenever I say that, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm not blanketing this across the board in every affiliation or denomination ever been in existences in America. But by and large, if you get to looking at the people that snarled up their nose 30 plus years ago, even though I was dead set in wanting to fulfill that in which what the Father had given me to fulfill, I had to prove the zeal, even though I had been injured physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and even to this day. I haven't made a full recovery, but I feel like that I am recovering. I feel like that I have realigned my mind and my spirit and my soul to the degree that I can put aside the past and not wish anybody ill will, especially for those that done what they done, either intentionally or unintentionally, and go on with the program and go on with the show, because one monkey don't stop no show. In my case, it was several monkeys. It was monkeys up in Kentucky. It was monkeys in Tennessee. It was monkeys in Oklahoma. It was some monkeys even in Atlanta, Georgia. It was monkeys in different places that were trying to stop the show. But I believe I've proven my courageousness by me going out west and doing what I done, because it needed to be done in the degree of a labor of love. Not to be patted on the back, not to be bragged about, not to have famous books and movies and StarCast plays to be made of, but to say that it was only through and by the Almighty God and the Lord Jesus Christ and the precious Holy Spirit that gave me enough common sense to know that the things that went on out west in either 1993, I think it was 93 and 91, or 93 or 93 and 94, or something like that, pertaining to the Waco incident and the Oklahoma bombing, that it was only through and by God that gave me enough insight to know that what I was doing was in the form of a just cause. Now I know by me making some friends in those areas, I probably made a lot of enemies too. Going back to, I don't know what politician that said that you can please part of the people all the time. You can please part of the people part of the time, but you'll never please all the people all the time. And this is true. So if you step out towards basically leaving the reservation, you better make sure that you're sure that you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit on your side. Because I promise you, if you don't, they will tear you to smithereens, to the degree that they was either trying to drive me crazy towards actually becoming out of my mind, or drive me to the point of becoming a very, very bad person, displaying anger and wrath and violence, which would have backfired on me, and I know that it would have had. Or, better than that, drive me to the point of suicide. I thank God every day, looking now through the smoke screen, after the dust has finally started to settle in my life, I can look back and say, you know what? You failed, Weakley County. You know what? You failed, Obion County. Looking at Washington, D.C. and saying to various people, not all of them, but various people, and look at them straight smack in the eye and say, you know what? You failed in trying to make me give up on my own God, on my own Savior, on my own Lord. You failed. Because I'm still living, I'm still talking, and I'm still making video links and putting my story out there. Now, whether or not anybody wants to believe me, whether or not anybody wants to support me, whether or not anybody wants to stand with me, that'll be up to them. So far, in the past 30 plus years, I don't see a movement moving in the direction that the founder of the Jubilees Jesus Christ Windmill Ministries ministry started in 1988, whenever 9 tapes circulated to the White House during Ronald Reagan's administration. And until I do, I'll have doubts, not only about America, but the planet Earth. Because right now, you can listen to all the fancy wording that you want to coming from a president, in which, gun ho for all that, But whenever you really get to looking at the fundamentals pertaining to America right now, we're not sitting on easy street like he would like to make out for everybody to be sitting on. There's no doubt. Right now, this country, I think, is making about 1,000 millionaires a day. I read that somewhere. I don't know how true it is. There's so much stuff out there to glance at and read and look at. You tend to wonder, well, what's believable and what isn't believable pertaining to artificial intelligence, pertaining to misdirection, pertaining to people telling fables and fibs out there, knowing good and well that it's going to come back and haunt them one day. And if it don't haunt them in this lifetime, it will haunt them in the lifetime to come. Because I promise you, if you're not being honest with the people, those will be the people that will hold you accountable. And if they don't hold you accountable in this lifetime, they'll hold you accountable in the lifetime to come. You remember that. You remember that, please. Please remember that, because life is very short, it's very sacred, and it's very real.
I thought that, as John said, she did a pretty good job. I mean, there were no drink breaks or excessive sweating or some of the stuff that makes these things kind of comical. None of that. Fine. I think that's helpful.
Forthrightly on offense on those issues. And then I thought back and I was like, oh, you know what? That is pretty striking. Go back to the Trump speech. There's one mention of Minnesota, and it's on the fraud question. Mm-hmm. There is no mention of the deployment there. There is no mention of anything that's happened there in the last, something that was at the center of the nation's imagination, the deaths of 2 Americans, the marauding agents on the streets. Not a defense. No mention. There's no mention of Tom Homan. There's no mention of Kristi Noem. All of that, which I think he thought was going to be his big calling card.
Gregory Bovino is crying at home right now in the shoe he lives in.
I mean, but think about that. Like, think about, here's your big thing. You're doing, this is your big Stephen Miller, Donald Trump project. We're doing mass deportation. They had the mass deportation signs out at the RNC. And now you are, and you've been doing it. And the whole country's been watching, and you have your big speech.
Yeah, only the Democrats will talk about it to remind America what they...
And in a way, they're right. You have to look at the bad as well as the good. There's going to be mistakes made, and there's no doubt what went on was bad. It was a bad ordeal on both sides. It was a bad ordeal. But if you're halfway intelligent, which I believe that most of the American people are, a lot of times it ain't so much what our leaders say, but rather how they say it, and at the same time, what they don't discuss publicly in saying. Because they're not going to bring disgrace to their own party whenever a mistake is made. And you can't tell me that this administration, regardless whether it was before COVID or during COVID, of so many lives being lost pertaining to the medical industry, and giving out money that they never should have been given money to, people that now have big bank accounts that was still getting those stimulus checks. You can't tell me that mistakes hasn't been made regarding how Donald J. Trump has tried to, I'm going to use the analogy, bully his way through the troubles that the American people have been facing off on for the past full administration of Donald J. Trump, and now the partial administration of Donald J. Trump. And there's no doubt, I feel most confident in Memphis, Tennessee, and other places that he's been to. He's put his foot down in not only proving to the citizens that he means what he says, but also proving to those that was becoming lame themselves, that was either state workers or county workers, regardless of what type of authority that you got, it always falls upon the shoulders of where does the buck stop? And the buck stops with Donald J. Trump. Now, the money that the Supreme Court said that got stolen from the American people, I feel like that should be given back. That's my opinion about it. If if the Supreme Court says that what he done was illegitimate in the eyes of the law to the degree that he broke the law, that he costed the American people this type of money, then I feel like that we should be confiscated for it. And I feel like that any right-minded person, regardless whether they're Republican or Democrat, regardless whether they know the law or they don't know the law, would say the exact same thing. But I still say the only way to do this is to start from the bottom and go to the top. They've already tried going to the top and going to the bottom. Well, let's change course here now, and let's go from the bottom. Let's wipe the slate clean all the way across the board, regardless of what country or what nation it may be. And let's start using our heads and working smarter and not harder. And let's be fair about it to the degree that it's not just a certain delegated portion of people that's coming out on top, but the majority that's coming out on top. Because as of right now, my friends, you don't have to be too educated to figure out the majority is not ruling whenever it comes to people succeeding in all these different departments, because we're not. There's a lot of people out there that's struggling. There's a lot of people out there right now that their lives are being turned totally upside down. There's a lot of people that feels like because the system has failed them, that it's driving them either to suicide, or it's driving them to crime, or it's driving them in a very, very no-win, determining, defeated situation of basically losing their wind out of their sail pertaining to their momentum. And any wartime analyst like Winston Churchill would tell you that to defeat an army, you must first defeat their will. And that's what they wanted to defeat in me. That's what they wanted to defeat in other people that has stood up with an anointing message coming from the Father. They wanted to defeat the will of Jesus Christ to the degree that he crumbled as they was beating him, or to the point that he crumbled as he was pulling his own cross up Mount Calvary, or to the degree that he crumbled during the time that he was hanging on the cross. And not one time did Jesus give in. If anything, he made his case that much stronger by looking at one of the Roman soldiers that was purging him that day. For what good work, Jesus asked, do you persecute me for? And the Roman guard spoke up and said, for a good work we persecute you not, but for you claiming to be the Son of God. That's why we're going to persecute you. Even though he did not commit any type of offense that deserved that type of punishment. Even though, even Christ said, for in the last days many false teachers, many false prophets will rise. And many of them will say, come to the caves, or come to the secret place, for the Savior is over here, or this is going on over here, over there. Jesus said to believe them not. For so as Christ left, so shall he also reappear, sitting upon the right hand of the Father, coming from the eastern skies in a spiritual supernatural form, that every eye will behold him eventually, and that every tongue will profess, whether or not it's done voluntarily or involuntarily, that he is Lord before that final day of that final third resurrection, whenever Lucifer is loose for a short season to go and deceive the nations again into Gog and Magog, because you can't deceive the world the second time unless you've successfully succeeded in doing it the first time. And that's where we're at right now in this plague of corruption, in this plague of bewilderment, in this plague of confusion, in this plague of evil. Just like Putin said, we are fighting up against the very hounds of hell right now that's coming out of the pits of hell. And if they're not coming in one form, they're coming in another. If they're not coming in one form, they're coming in another. If there's ever been a time that the people needed to humble their hearts and get their lives right with God, I believe it is today. Because we're knocking on heaven's doors, all of us. And none of us is guaranteed a tomorrow. And we're all only one heartbeat away from spending the rest of our lives in eternity. So the atheist, the agnostic, those that believe in Buddha, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslims, and all the above, they need to sit and evaluate where we are as a global nation. Because I promise you, every sign out there is pointing in the direction towards the judgment of God. The judgment of God. Now, Donald Trump can ignore that all he wants, even though his life was spared, and say, drill, baby, drill, baby, drill, drill, drill. But at the end of the day, he'll give an account for what he's doing to Mother Earth right now, and how he's promoting towards the Green New Deal being fake and phony, and towards it being bogus and unreal. Because there's too many scientists, there's too many people all over the world that can tell you the patterns of the way that it used to be versus the patterns that it is now. And there's no comparison. The temperature of the water, there's no comparison. The melting of the ice, the ozone layer breaking down, the bombardment of the sun flares breaking into our atmosphere, the pollution that we're drinking, our breathing, pertaining to the cancer patients, and so many people having heart attacks and so many medical problems all over the world. You can't deny these things. You can get up on national TV and lie about them if you want to, but at the end of the day, you have to look at all the major points and not just a few of them. Looking at only a few of them is the very thing that has led us down this endless road of doom and gloom throughout about 5 or 6 other administrations, beginning with the Reagans and the Bushes in the 80s. That's what has gotten us to this watershed moment, if you want to call it. That if we continue to keep making the same mistakes again and again and again, some of your smartest people out there claim that is a sign of insanity. And there will come a time whenever God the Father will no longer wink over humanity's ignorances or over what they claim that they're ignorant of. There will come a time where God's judgment will fall upon the mankind, regardless whether they promote it, regardless whether they like it, or regardless whether they don't like it. And there's no doubt, whenever I read the book of Revelations corresponding with the last chapter of Daniel, or the last 2 chapters of Daniel, it's not a pleasant book to look at from a worldly standpoint, from a fleshly standpoint. It's not a very pleasurable book to look at. But you've got to look at all the truth and not just bits and pieces of it. That's kind of like believing in the Bible. You got to believe in the whole Bible and not just different places of the Bible. You got to believe in the full manifestation of God and not just part of the manifestation of God. Just like you got to believe in the full manifestations of evil, of who and what evil is, because I guarantee you, Jesus Christ never did not one time make fun of evil. He never took evil lightly. He never spoke lightly of his enemy, the adversary. And neither nor shall we. Thanks again for listening. Good luck to all of us. God bless America. God bless our troops. And God bless our endeavors towards which way not only the American people go, but which way the world goes from this moment on in these times of troublesome moments that's been brought into a great deal of our lives. Thank you. God bless you. And shalom.